first there was darkness, and then came, dun dun, the film.
I'd watch this. Get down. What was I gonna read off the back? I was annoyed by something. So, stop making the face. It's so bad.
This is so fucking dumb, guys. This is amazing. Okay. In short, this film is about Islamic terrorists going back in time to kill Jesus. And that's how it starts. It's an evangelical film, which has a baseline of usually dumb, and this does not disappoint in that area. Then he goes back in time to kill Jesus, but then other guys go back in time to stop them, and they create all these parallel universes, and there's multiple versions of people, and they keep changing history and creating parallel timelines that swallow into each other. So it becomes like a really dumb version of Primer involving Jesus. Like one guy, he ends up...
And the time travel was an accident.
Yeah, he's like, I'm trying to create teleportation, but I accidentally created time travel. Whoa. One guy in one timeline kills Jesus, and then another timeline he becomes the thief that is pardoned by Jesus, and then another one he ends up being a heroic guy in the present day, and another one he ends up getting his dark origin story gets avoided entirely. This sounds like, to understand the plot of this film, you have to be that gif of the guy with all the red string going like...
Okay, so I'm going to read to you from the back of the DVD. A group of young scientific geniuses, they're not young, they're like late 20s, early 30s, invent time travel for a mysterious organization, but soon learn their invention has been hijacked by extremists to go back and commit the ultimate jihad of killing Jesus and the disciples before the resurrection.
The word jihad does not mean what this film thinks it means.
Now, the first thing I said when I read that is, well, wait a second. In Islam, Jesus is a prophet. Mm-hmm. And one of the terrorists makes the point. He's like, we can't. He's a prophet. We can't kill him. Allah will be really pissed. And your man's like, no. See, it'll work. No.
See, if we kill him, he won't get resurrected, or the apostles won't invent the resurrection story, so it'll all be good. Then why not go back and kill the apostles so they don't tell everyone he got resurrected?
Leaving aside the point that, first of all, Jesus dying was the whole entire point. That was the thing that he was gonna do.
In the Christian version.
Yeah.
Not in the Muslim version.
But
he's just a guy.
If he's a prophet, he might be able to resurrect anyway.
I don't think prophets have that power in Islam.
I don't know.
Remember, Islam's idea of prophets is very different from Christianity one. The two-horned one is, by most scholars, thought to be Alexander the Great. And he's a prophet of Islam. So it's like... it's a little broader category than Christians have.
This just ticks all of the boxes. Oh, and we have the film running again on the TV, so we have extra light because we don't have one of those really nice YouTuber.
Yeah, that's why the lighting's usually really terrible.
And I just realized, okay, so it begins with this ex-soldier who's like, I killed terrorists. And Heidi Montag plays his wife because...
His wife, who's British, and that's a massive plot point that she's British.
Yes, it's like Schrodinger's accent. Or not Schrodinger, Chekhov's accent.
Even though she's not British, and we didn't realize she was meant to be British until some guys pointed out, hey, your British accent. And he's like, what? And then she's dead a second later.
So basically, he's driving to Texas with his wife and daughters because he's been in the military killing terrorists. But now... And he says this in front of his two daughters while they're playing iPad in the backseat. And then, their car gets T-boned by a Mack truck, and his wife and daughters are killed, and then you see him 3 weeks later an alcoholic, and with that scene just played again, and all the bottles, they showed a close-up of his mantelpiece, they're not quite 40s, but bigger than a regular bottle of beer, but they're craft beers. Who is that? What kind of dedicated alcoholic just drinks craft beer? It's because this was filmed in Dallas, Texas, so it's obvious that the prop master just went around and collected beer bottles
from his friends.
Because
and all the friends are in film or art.
I'll tell you what. I go walking down by the river every morning to get my exercise. I walk for about 3 hours. So it's about 8.5 miles. And there is a group of people with alcohol abuse issues who usually drink overnight in the car park by the river. And you know what they leave? They leave empty bottles
of the cheapest stuff you can get.
Of vodka. and half-full bottles of Coca-Cola. This is what, or sometimes you see the big 3-liter bottles of Jack Frost, which is like the worst bottom of the barrel, like sold in a 3-liter plastic bottle of cider you can get. People with alcohol abuse issues are drinking the cheapest thing possible to get as fucked up as possible. They're not drinking 40s of craft beer, Brent. In case his name is Brant, but whatever.
Yeah, then Brad.
It's just so it's so American too, because like one of the scientists, he has a Hispanic name, and he looks like he's a Hispanic actor, but he has this really weird, like pseudo Eastern European accent. He sounds like Balky from Perfect Strangers, if you're old enough to get that reference.
It sounds like it could be going for a Middle Eastern accent.
But his last name is Martinez, and I think and then there's this black guy who is basically there to be the black comedy relief.
The black sassy dude.
Yeah, like he meets Jesus at one point and he tells him what happened, and he's like, "No, dude, this is how you die. I saw it. I have the Blu-ray." Or no, I have the bootleg.
I watched your movie.
He's like, oh, bootleg. Forgive me, Jesus.
I bootlegged it.
And I'm like, that's so terrible. Like, your man is like, an experimental physics genius.
They're teleporting stuff right now. That's
he can afford a DVD. It's just so bad. And
And then he becomes Simon of Cyrene because he's Simon. So there's like multiple versions of him. So one ends up like dying in like the blast of post-apocalyptic. Jesus is dead, so this is the dark future.
Yeah.
And then another one becomes Simon of Cyrene.
And here's the thing. So basically, like all of these scientists are together to do matter transfer because the mysterious millionaire who's funding all of this is doing so for the head of a terrorist cell because he wants to create matter transfer so they can like move troops and explosives and supplies and stuff like that. Your man accidentally creates time travel, says out loud, "Time travel? Oh no." And then he creates this whole entire plan to go back in time and kill Jesus so Christianity doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Why? Because when he was a kid in some undescribed Middle Eastern country, his parents were killed by extremists for being Christians. So he doesn't want to go back in time
and
take care of the extremists who killed his parents and assumedly tortured him into being a Muslim. He wants to go back and kill Jesus so there'll be no Christianity, so his parents were never Christians. And I feel like that's a lot of effort. I feel like you don't get to be a multimillionaire head of a terrorist cell by being stupid.
Yeah, this guy, he's like doing the teleporting thing, and the balls that he's teleporting are just going nowhere. They're not appearing on the other pad. So then he just figures time travel and says it, and then a second later, this basic fleeting hypothesis suddenly becomes it's definitely time travel, and then he gets captured a second later, and then later on it's revealed that he not only worked out it was definitely time travel, and he worked out exactly how it was working, but he managed to get to the computer and put in all this sort of like shit involving backups and stuff to assist them, while in between the second working out that it might be time travel and him being captured.
And then he deletes everything on the hard drive. They go, and then he shredded it too. And I'm like,
Apparently, there's been multiple time loops we're not seeing, and someone went back in time and did all that.
Yeah, like there's a part in the middle. I spent at least 20 minutes saying I think that there was a scene edited out that we didn't see, and then we realized, oh no, it's time travel. Multiple versions of people die multiple times. And here's the thing. So here's what I'm wondering, right?
So it was like Primer.
Because Jesus is like, oh no, I'll see you in heaven and all. It's grand. But so that makes me wonder which version had the immortal soul.
All of them did.
But then do all of them are there triplicate in heaven? Is Saint Peter like, oh Jesus? And Jesus is like, no, he's cool. I said he could be.
I imagine because the one who killed Jesus and the one who became the soldier, the soldier guy
he becomes one of the thieves crucified next to Jesus.
So you got these two versions of them. And
Jesus speaks English because he's God, and they keep trying to speak English to everybody in Judea, and they're like, what?
I imagine that if all the souls in your different timelines go to heaven, then they're going to unite in heaven as one thing and have all the memories or whatever. But if one goes to hell, then they'll just be separated and they'll go off to hell and they'll go to heaven.
2/3 of you are in heaven.
Well, it's just a copy.
And there's a part where him and one of the soldier, he's kind of been hired as like head of security, so he becomes like an immoral asshole for a while. And so him and another one of the another one of the shock troops, are in the past, and they steal. What do they steal from a vendor in the market?
A tomato. And they even yell.
Could you tell us what's the problem with that?
And the guy even yells. They're like, thief! And he's like, it's only a tomato, it's a tomato, it's only a tomato. They say it like 5 times. Because tomatoes, or what do they call them in America?
Tomatoes.
Didn't exist in the Middle East and then. And why?
Because they're from the Americas. Just like the potato. The potato's from Peru.
It's fucking hilarious.
I ain't saying, I'm just saying, maybe like Jesus was like, my son, I will give you
this is up there with 1492, The Conquest of Paradise. Wait, the 1492, The Conquest of Paradise, which before Christopher Columbus sailed, it has a shot of him wandering through like a churchyard, and there's turkeys running around with the chickens.
And like, okay, this was shot in Dallas, Texas. But Jesus, and the mustache and beard look fake. And he's Caucasian, and he has blue eyes. He does have dark brown hair, so there's that at least.
So that's he's slightly better than the average Jesus. Tiny bit.
Jesus was likely, a very tan Semitic skin and did not have blue eyes. I hate to tell you, Christians.
Yeah, but he was from the Middle East, so he'd probably look Middle Eastern.
Yeah, that's how people look from that area. But it's just so bad. The only part that I thought was cool was like, so the physicists become like, all of them have computer hacking skills because of course that's exactly how a physics qualification works.
One of them's called Amy Lee.
Yes.
And Jesus brought her to life.
Why did I not make you only call me when you never call me when you're sober. Oh yeah, and so the main guy who's an atheist, his last name is Goldstein. Get it?
He's called Ram Goldstein.
And
I don't know what the Ram signifies.
Ram is an Indian name.
I don't know what it signifies. Maybe he's just because he's double non-Christian.
Random access memory.
He's ramming his way through time.
I guess, but like so there's this part where so they have these little watches that can swing them back and forth, like the way that Al could always find Dr. Beckett in Quantum Leap. But so there's multiple versions of them. So him and her go back to do stuff. And then he's like, how are we going to tell the versions of us? And she's like, I'm a genius too, actually. So she looks at the camera because she knows that herself had hacked it and starts talking in sign language because, like, that's a plot point that, like, her character can't. I was like, all right, that's really brilliant. That's kind of cool. But it's just so bad. And then there's like a version of the future where there's no Christianity and it looks like utopia for a second, but then everyone's dying of radiation. And
it's sort of, they've killed Jesus, so the present day is suddenly turning into an alternate present.
Because it's a world without forgiveness.
Because it takes time for the past to catch up with the future, which is a trope, but I'm pretty sure that's pretty dumb. But then momentarily it becomes this wonderful garden type thing, so looking Garden of Eden-ish, just so that people are like, aha, look, we succeeded, everything is wonderful.
So apparently we sorted climate change because, like,
everything's glorious because there's no Jesus. And then a second later, it's post-apocalyptic nuclear hell world.
Yeah, and like the Eastern European / Hispanic guy
gets left there
and just kind of like starts to like cough and like die of radiation.
Falls to the ground and he's like, oh shit.
In a ruined cityscape.
And then another version of him gets killed. Everyone dies in this at least twice.
I feel like it was in everyone's contract. They got at least 2 death scenes per. And like, but she's not a very good evangelical because she's like horny on main for the guy. Like she literally like at the physics exam afterwards like asks him out.
This is the film that I was hoping for whenever I saw Time Changer.
This is Assassin's Creed. The movie was better than this, featuring that famous line, "We are assassins." Yes, we are assassins.
The villain in this. See him in the back. He looks just like Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks if he was like an evil secret agent.
And look at this, the cover, like it looks like they whoever did the art repurposed it because like that's supposed to be the inside of the tomb, but it's obviously like from an underwater grotto photo. Like you can see, like right there's like anemones and stuff.
And the guys who are guarding the tomb aren't Roman soldiers.
There's like the Time Lords coming down.
They look like the X costumes from the Holy Land experience, but sort of version of the Jewish soldiers, not like for Herod, not the Roman soldiers.
Yeah, one guy like backhands like a Roman soldier, like right in the helmet, and we're like,
yeah, he's
really hurt.
He's pistol whipping him, but with his hands. He's got his hand on the pistol and he swings it, and it gets so part of his hand hits the helmet.
The force would have been absorbed by the cross guard.
So
he would have like stumbled back and then like dick.
This hand should have been
Except
really sore.
in Latin, phalli.
Malaka. Oh, that's Greek. It's modern Greek too.
There's a part where the black guy says, unironically, to Jesus, who's speaking Aramaic at him, "Hey, dude, no speako Greeko." This was better than that Christian, like, an Aliens movie, because that pissed me off for a whole bunch of different reasons.
That was called Unidentified. We never vlogged that, but Omega got...
I was drinking.
Was like ranting about that for about an hour.
No, because here's the thing. It's like basically like, okay, so they're the work of these investigative journalism magazine, and one guy is like a super evangelical asshole, and like, is a real dick in the workplace, and the boss is like, "Hey, stop." I'm like, no, that is not how you deal with that in the workplace. You sit both parties down and say, okay, per the employee handbook, there will be no harassment of anyone for their religion or lack thereof. If this happens again, this will be going to HR, and if it happens again, you're going to be terminated. That's not how the workplace goes. Regardless of whether or not it was angels or aliens.
We need to watch Unidentified
No, I'm
again.
not watching it again. Watch it with Zach Lawrence. But it was just the science was sketchy, but that can in B movies that can be forgiven. I mean, for Christ's sake, we all love Birdemic, both of them, and the science is sketchy as shit. But it was just, and this has been annoying me because we watched a Christian horror movie a few months back.
Prey.
And that annoyed me because it was a Christian horror movie, but there was no evangelicalness in it. It was just bad. And I could have excused it being bad because they were taking the time to proselytize. But they didn't even proselytize very well. And this was just bad.
It wasn't good.
And it annoyed me because it was very American.
Well, yeah.
Like, it was, we gotta get the FBI and Homeland Security. Oh, it's okay, he's a soldier, he admits that he killed people with his 2 young daughters in the back seat. Daddy's a murderer.
Yeah.
And, like, there's a part where,
America likes to fetishize soldiery.
I know. And there's a part where, the main guy, calls him the head of security and says, hey, look, this guy signed a contract with me. He's discovered something, and now he's trying to steal the IP. I need you to get this information out of him. He basically admits to, oh yeah, I know how to torture people.
Yeah, so he's just torturing him. That's step 1. Step 2 is bring the guy's parents into another room and shoot them in the head until...
How they got the parents, I don't know. But here's the thing, though. If you are you can fund this. Because he's like, oh, $10 million bonuses. Like, they have this huge facility, right? If you can fund this, you don't need matter transfer. You can probably just fucking airlift your people to wherever you need them.
This is a fucking hilarious film.
It has 3.5 stars on IMDb. It has a whole bunch of 1-star reviews from people who've actually seen it, and a whole bunch of 10-star reviews from Christians.
Oh,
during this, I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm texting Ashens. He's got to know about this."
And Ashens had heard of this, but he had not seen it yet. Anyway, this is going instantly onto my review list.
Oh, and in case you were wondering, you should probably watch Ashens' movie when it comes out. I think it's coming out next week.
Yeah. But Omega will not be happy when we have to watch this again for notes.
No, because I've done it already.
Well,
I remember what was funny the first time.
Because of COVID, you are a person I rely on for helping me with notes.
I can send it to Laura Kenny and Raymond and ask her to watch it.
Notes. These glasses, guys, these are from...
So old.
These are from Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
The 3D screening.
Remember when we went to the cinema?
I found them up in the kitchen, so I decided to make this whole video look a little bit more visually stimulating.
They're like full of dust, though.
They are.
They were like up on the top shelf.
My brain is about to melt.
And of course, in me making points and her being like, "No, but see, that's how it is in Catholicism." I'm like, "Yeah, but
You know, there's certain bits where you're like, complain, I'm like, well, technically, because blah, blah, blah.
But Catholicism, predated evangelicalism, so it's, like, more...
The very end of this film, it all leads up
yes,
to the time travel... guy invents time travel, like an alternate reality version of him ending up as this minor character in the Bible who appears in, like, one gospel and does nothing but except run around naked. Because he
wasn't, though. He was wearing an open shirt and his joxers, but, you know...
And so that's the end, and then they have to put the credits... And they have the post-credit sequence at the same time as the credits. It's a very odd choice.
And I was like, are these outtakes or what?
It looked like outtakes. Then it's revealed that the main characters leap forward 30 years for reasons.
To a hospital, so she's shot.
Yeah, and so when they could just leap,
30 minutes?
Because they can time and space leap at once, they could go to the hospital. But they leap forward 30 years and discover... It's the end times. The Antichrist is there.
It's like the car park, and you just see them from above, and you see all these soldiers, and like, what? No ID match. Wait a minute. Any chips? No chips, no scar. They're clean. Oh wow.
The Antichrist. We don't hear about this.
He goes, why send all these troops? I guess this guy really must be important to the Antichrist. We're like, no, you fucking assholes. And then it says coming soon. And this came out this year.
I cannot wait.
Maybe COVID will prevent it.
I want the sequel. I want to see what other these fucking guys do. This is going to be amazing.
And it's so bad because, all right, so the soldier who's angry at God, and here's the thing, he's always like praying out loud, which, per Psalms, God doesn't like. You're supposed to pray by yourself, not on the street corner where everyone can see.
I think there's a difference in the Bible which says you can do it because the Bible's the big book of multiple choice.
But anyway, so he's like always talking out loud to God, and I'm like, would you stop that? That's like the person who's always going on LiveJournal and like, talking about all these revelations of personal selfhood that they've had and just basically performing emotional masturbation on the internet. That's what that reminded me of. Like, he comes, like, the bad guy is like, oh, it's so good to have you with us. I'm so sorry about your wife and children. It's only been 3 weeks. Are you sure you're up to the job? Do you want to take some time? And he's like, no, I need to work. And he's like, no, really, like, because you need time to grieve. Listen, it's cool. And he's like, no, see, it's really, I'm angry about God. I'm like, who goes in and talks about with your employer on your first day? So he goes and kills Jesus, and he's like, you can stop this. If you're God, you'll stop this. And Jesus is like, no, I'm supposed to die. I'm supposed to die for your sins. I'll die for you. He's like, no, stop it. And he's like, well, no, but I'm dying for you. It's too late. So he caps Jesus, double taps. and then he's dying on the cross next to him in another timeline. And then so Jesus tells the atheist main character scientist, you have to forgive Brant. That's the only way. So then, in a third...
Forgive him for what?
Another version of him...
Beating him up, torturing him?
Past, and he's gonna... He's gonna shoot Brant, and he's like, I'm gonna do it. And Brant's like, I don't care. My wife and kids are dead. I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't done anything to you. I just met you. But you know what? Fine, pull the trigger.
I don't even know who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
You will.
He's like, yeah, I want to die. Do me a favor, kill me. And he's no, I forgive you. And then the terrorist has them, and Brant has a gun on all of them, and his parents are there and stuff. And then so he's like, I'm hearing a woman's voice. And we're like, oh, he's hearing the voice of the terrorist's mother. And he's like, be a hero. And then so this prompts Brant to like shoot the terrorist and then shoot everybody else, like all the other bad guys. And then like he's like, I heard a woman's voice, and he was like, did she have a British accent? It was my wife. And we looked at each other. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, Chekhov's accent.
I figured the random dead woman, calling from heaven was the...
It was Heidi Montag, because they didn't want to pay her.
I figured it was the villain's mother, who was a Christian, but no, apparently not. But, the time travel in this is so convoluted and complicated. I think it's legitimately more complicated than Future Man Series 1. And it did that over 13 episodes.
Yeah, but from what you've told me, that's actually good.
Future Man is awesome.
Like, here's the thing. Like, if you want to make like a Christian movie where like nothing bad happens, like I was tangentially involved. You reviewed Pirates of the Great Salt Lake.
Yes, I did. With
Magic Steve, with guest starring Suede.
Yeah.
From New Zealand.
Great film.
Yeah, and it's good. They don't ever mention they don't mention God at all.
Yeah.
It's just a very clean, very fun movie, kind of like a metaphor, like your man really wants to be a pirate, but it's kind of treated like he's secretly gay.
So you're an outcast, you're outsider, you're
Yeah.
separate. It was being a pirate was used as a metaphor for homosexuality in conservative Mormon Utah.
Yeah, it was cute and it was fun and it was innocent, and I was like, you know what, that wasn't that bad. And
Not sure I'd call it innocent. A guy did get a sword shoved up his ass.
That's true. Okay, not that innocent. But then we watched, back when we used to do a podcast, we watched this movie called Christmas with a Capital C because it was suggested to us by Indie Christian Review Zach Lawrence. And it was made by they were Norwegian, were they not?
I think I suggested Christmas with a Capital C because I'd seen a video.
Oh yeah, but he knew about it though. And like it was kind of this thing where like, oh no, the big bad atheist lawyer comes back from the big city, slinks back home and defeat to his small town, and his whole thing is you can't have a religious thing in the city hall. It's separation church and state, and he's going to sue. And there's a whole big thing. And then at the end, the pastor, says to him, well, would it be cool if we just took the nativity scene and put it on the church garden, or the church yard? And he was like, yes, that is what I've been saying this whole time. This is exactly what I want. And then everything's happy.
Yeah.
And we figured out that it was, and I think Zach told us that it was because it was Norwegians who made the film. And
like Norwegian Christians.
Yeah, so basically, like, it was very like, oh my goodness, there was a reasonable explanation, and everybody gets what they want. The atheist gets their separation of church and state, and gets to be, like, accepted by the town, and the Christians still get their nativity scene. Because if it was made by Americans, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. It's basically a Christian exploitation film made by Christians who have a lot less chips on their shoulder.
Yeah, so, like, I get, like, if you want to, and all these, it makes me want to write one of these. Because it just annoys me. It's like, it feels like that Venn diagram of it can be fast, it can be cheaper, it can be good, pick two.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like with these films, and I'm like, but there have got to be people who are good at this, who are also Christian and want to have a message.
I mean, we quite liked Zach's, his version of In His Steps. That was pretty good.
Because seriously, I mean, and we also discussed that, and you can tell that they had very little budget.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's fine. But the thing is, we realized it actually passed the Bechdel test.
It did?
Yeah, because basically, the main character was like, oh my gosh, I want to do all these things with my life, but I want to give my life to God. And then everyone's like, well, why don't you do all those things you want to do in your life and give your life to God? And she was like, oh my, you're right! It just annoys me. I feel like you can make Christian cinema, and it doesn't have to be bad.
Christian cinema, it's pretty odd. Mormon cinema, which I have an interest in as well. They tend, I've noticed, to center filmmaking first and putting any religious sort of religious stuff afterwards. Or if you're making a film for a Mormon audience, directors making a film for a Mormon audience, they're not making it and filling it with, this is why everyone has to become like us, because the audience is already there.
Yeah.
Like the problem with evangelical cinema is that it's made for a Christian audience, however they're pretending that it's made for a non-Christian audience, so you've got non-Christians becoming Christians. It's basically like reinforcement of why we are right, while Mormon cinema is more like, this is what life is like for Mormons. Or their take on the world.
Yeah.
Well, they come from very different places.
I mean,
generally, there's obviously
I'm trying to think, because I said something during what we were watching. I said I'm going to say that in the vlog, but I can't remember what it was now. But it was probably a long involved story that wasn't important. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. And like all of the, Islamic terrorists look like they were played by Hispanic actors. Like, I hate to say that, and I don't know for sure, because we didn't go through the IMDb list and everything, but... Oh, the only trivia on IMDb for this film is, like, calling out the fact that even interfering with a prophet would be very sacrilegious in Islam. I mean, although they did, like, reinforce, oh, wait, no, these guys are extremists. They're an extremist sect, but still.
You'd think they would be extremely into not fucking over with what God likes.
Yeah. And then there's, like, this evil woman scientist who's just, like... there, like, she's just kind of like, she's never explicitly evil. He's like, oh, back that up on the hard drive, and she's like, okay, I will. She doesn't die. There's like an old grandpa looking scientist who's only there in the background, doesn't have any lines.
Yeah. I think this is hilarious. This is way better than a lot, because it's awesomely bad. It's reminded me a bit of Leap, Rise of the Beast.
I haven't seen that.
Leap is a Christian drama, low budget parkour movie where it's like this guy does parkour, but there's
For the Lord?
but then there's Christians and there's non-Christians, and it's like, oh no, drama. It's
Who's
it's
the
like,
saint of freefall?
but you've got this
Pray for me, St. Anthony.
you got this Christian sort of like teen 20s drama involving parkour, and then at the very end in the post-credit sequence, the Antichrist rises off screen, and they're like, oh no, look at the TV, the end times have come. And so the sequel, Leap Rise of the Beast, is about using parkour to defeat the Antichrist. So it's a much more radical version of Left Behind.
Yeah, Antichrist should probably levitate. He doesn't need parkour. Just saying.
I've got to review the Leap movies. It's so funny. Because the problem is, you gotta watch the first one for the second one's true batshittery to sort of happen, because otherwise it's just a parkour on end times movie. But if you see the first one first, then you realize, holy fuck, 98% of the way through this film, it's suddenly an end times film.
I don't know. Whenever we watch one of these, I just keep feeling that there's got to be, how can there be that many people who are bad at this? I know I shouldn't say, but the thing is that we know people who have crowdfunded and put together movies, multiple people. And they're not bad. The problem is there's not enough money to, put the good into it. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if you have enough money to, obviously production value went into this. Can you not, make it good, though?
If you want to watch this and you can't find the DVD, then just look up the Mad TV sketch, Terminator 3 sketch, where the Terminator goes back in time to,
Hasta la vista, Jesus.
Yeah, so you watch that multiple times while listening to Kirk Cameron rant about something, and you're basically there. Maybe with Primer in the background too. Holy fuck, the time travel.
We're almost at the cutoff point for the file, where we haven't had to split the file, so...
Yeah.
Expect another thing from us soon. I'll hear you so you can close it, the way that you want to. Fuck Trump.
Oh, Assassin is a 3D!
We are assassins. Yes. We are assassins.